All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our home buyer seminar. This is our first virtual seminar, and I believe this is our fourth seminar altogether, guys. You think?
hmm
Mm-hmm.
I
So
think
we've been going strong, and I'm really excited that you guys have taken the time to be here. So just sit back, relax, make yourself comfortable. I am Teresa Miller. I am the broker and owner of the M M Team Realty. I have been selling residential real estate for more than 20 years. I had the opportunity to retire in 2017 after 32 years of successful nursing. I was doing real estate and nursing at the same time. When I retired, the best thing in the entire world happened to me. I had the opportunity to meet, greet, connect with this amazing team that you are about to hear presentations from. Of course, the first person that was on our team, of course, is my daughter. So I kind of knew her already. But she has been a powerful member of the team. She's amazing. She's our marketing director. Her name is Glennis, and you will get to meet and hear from her shortly. The first non-family member, team member, was Claudia. Claudia joined my team, and I was so excited because I felt like, oh my God, I have somebody to play real estate with. After 20 years, my husband and my daughter, they were kind of done with me in real estate. They was running. They didn't want to talk about it no more. They were out. But then came Claudia, and I had a new playmate. Claudia and I have played together, and we talk about stuff. We were on the phone and connected, and it was awesome. Then along came Taylor. Taylor brought the energy, she brought the excitement, she brought the fire, she brought the newness and all the new creative ideas to the team. Taylor is my second playmate. I can call Taylor because Taylor lives in the city with me. So she's closer to me. She can come over in about 5 minutes. And in a minute, if it wasn't for COVID, I'd be running around her house too. So you will hear from the amazing Taylor very shortly. And then there is Mr. Bond Carr. What can I say about the awesome Bond? He has the most brilliant, beautiful smile and the biggest heart. He's willing to help you and just do whatever you need and whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable, at ease, and to have a successful transaction. And then, now, this is the person that brings all of the glue together. We cannot do it without the amazing Joe Soto and the Joe Soto team. Joe is phenomenal. If you need a transaction, if you need to know about loans, about mortgage, about refis, about forbearance, about literally anything, he can tell you about it. So you're going to hear all about it. We're going to give him that hour, and he's going to answer all of your questions. So gather your questions and get them ready. And we're going to start with the amazing Claudia, followed by Glennis, followed by Taylor, led to Bond, and Bond will bring on Joe Soto in that order. Sit back, relax, have a good time, and let's get this party started. Claudia, it's all about you.
Well, thank you so much, Teresa. Am I coming through clearly? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Great, great. And welcome to all of you wonderful future home buyers. Congratulate yourselves. You are starting this adventure. You're going to be home buyers very, very soon, home owners, actually. So I'd like to commend all of you for being on this call, for taking time out of your Saturday. I don't know how busy it would be given COVID has taken over, but at least you're going to spend the next 2 hours with us learning about the home buyer process. Knowledge is power. And it's wonderful that you are taking this step to learn whatever you can about the process before you get into it. So I commend you. I give you a virtual high five for being here. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you. So we'll go ahead and get started now.
Perfect. As I work on the slides, I started the poll. So if you guys will take a few minutes while Claudia is talking to us to answer the questions. There are 3 questions. Are you a first-time buyer? What's your time frame? And have you signed a buyer broker agreement, which Claudia will tell you all about?
I received my real estate license in the year 2017, which happens to be the same year that I retired from work. Altogether, I worked a grand total of 41 years in corporate America.
Wow.
And I was shouting the victory when I was able to hang up my hat. But I still wasn't ready to just sit down and be retired. I wanted to do something else. So I said, you know, real estate has always been kind of interesting to me. I've participated in a couple of transactions. Let me look into that. I looked into it and I was able to receive my license in the year 2018, and I immediately got busy. I have been in your shoes, home buyers, because I have purchased 2 properties in my lifetime, so I know exactly what you're going through. My first property I bought back in 1990. I bought a condo, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. I was a divorced mother of 1 child who happens to be on this call. Hello, son. And it's possible. That's the bottom line. I want to let you know that no matter what your circumstance, no matter what your situation, home buying does not have to be a fantasy. It can be a reality. As I said before, the thing that you have to do is get ready, prepare yourself. People are buying and selling homes daily, and there's absolutely no reason that one of those home buyers can't be you. So I see that Teresa has queued up the slides, so we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation.
Yes, I found the right stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm going to tell you all about the basics with regards to home buying, and we've listed 7 reasons here why it's good to own a home. You probably, because you all are already here, you know what the advantage is to owning a home. I just want to kind of reiterate these benefits. The first benefit would be a tax benefit. Be assured that all of the taxes that you pay on your mortgage will be a write-off on the following year for your taxes. That's probably the largest benefit. Well, there are other benefits, but that's the most financially beneficial tax benefit to owning a home. Also know that homes appreciate in value. When you drive a brand new car off the lot, as soon as you drive it off, it becomes a used car and it depreciates in value. Homes go up, and every time that home goes up in value, equity is built in it, meaning that you may have paid $400,000 for your condo. In the next few years, it's going to be worth more than $400,000. That's money that you can actually have access to do home improvements, go on a vacation, pay off loans. That money is yours. So it's another benefit to owning property. Savings. Home ownership is a savings benefit also. You're able to not necessarily spend so much money on you know what the price is going to be each month, basically, what you're going to pay each month. So home owning does benefit you with savings. Predictability. You know how much your mortgage is going to be every month because you're going to have a fixed rate mortgage. With when you're renting, you may have month to month, year to year lease. You don't know if after that lease, the owner is going to go up on price on your rent. You just never know. So you don't have to worry about what you're going to be paying per month when you own a home. And you have freedom. Freedom in buying a home. If you want to paint a wall, you don't have to call anyone and ask if you want to paint a wall. If you want to remove the wall, you don't have to call and ask anybody. You have the freedom to do what you want in your home. If you want pets, you can have pets. It's entirely up to you. And then home ownership is stability. It's good to be, you know what your mortgage is going to be. You know that you have a home to go to. It's a feeling of stability knowing that there's no guessing work when you own your own home. Now, I'd like to go over 7 reasons why you should work with a realtor rather than trying to tackle all of this on your own. This can be a daunting exercise if you try to go out there and say, well, I don't need a realtor, I can do this on my own. Let me tell you some reasons why you need a realtor. First of all, you're going to get ethical treatment. We make a vow, we make a promise when we get our real estate licenses that we will treat you with fiduciary duties. We will be honest, We will disclose anything that we know about the properties to you. You have our loyalty. We will be obedient to your wants and your needs. And we will be confidential with the things that you share with us about your money and your wants and your desires. And we will listen to you. We will be an expert guide to you. We will show you homes that you want to see. We won't go out there and bring up things that are not of interest to you. We will listen to you. We will give you objective information and opinions on the homes that you're interested in, on the neighborhoods that you're interested in. We will expand, we have expanded search power. We encourage you all to work on Zillow, on Trulio, Homes for Sale. Those type of websites are great for finding properties. Gone are the days when you'll drive around and see open house signs, because we're just not there anymore. COVID has given us a new normal. So you all do your due diligence by looking online. We also have ways that we can find properties. We can call other agents that we know and find out what's coming on the market. We also have something called the multiple listing group. And we can get on that line and we can pull up homes and just put in a city and 3-bedroom, 2-bath and pull up all of the homes that are for sale in that area. So we have access to different tools in order to find homes. We have negotiation knowledge. We can work with the sellers and negotiate the best price that would assure that you would get the property. And we have up-to-date experience. We don't just go day to day and do the same thing over and over. We constantly attend seminars. We attend meetings, all virtual now, obviously, but we have access to legal information, things that will keep us up to date with regards to the real estate business. And with regards to emotional moments, real estate, buying a house is probably, if not one of the most expensive things you'll do in your lifetime. And it can be a roller coaster. One day you'll be gung-ho, say, I'm ready to go do this. And then when you see that figure written on paper, you're gonna say, wait a minute, what am I doing? Call us, talk to us. We're glad to walk you through the process. We'll talk you off the ledge if necessary. But if you need someone to talk to about this process, we are available for you. Here are a few questions to ask when you're choosing one of us on the M M Team Realty as your realtor. Some of the questions you should ask are, how long have you been in real estate, residential real estate? Do you have any designations or certifications? One designation buyers should look for is the ABR, Accredited Buyers Representative designation. And I'm happy to report that our broker, Teresa Miller, does have that accreditation. So good for you, Teresa, good on you. How will you communicate with me about the progress of my transaction? I want to emphasize that this is a two-way street here. We need to hear from you. I guarantee you will hear from us, but we need to know how you're feeling throughout the transaction. What, if anything, changes during the transaction. We need to have open communication, and that's highly, in any relationship, you need communication. So definitely in a real estate transaction. You'll also ask if we have any past clients, if we have any past clients, and if we have any references from them, and we'll be glad to provide those for you. A little definition here. Buyer's representative is obviously an agent that's going to represent the buyer. The seller's representative is the agent that represents the seller. And then on occasion, we'll have dual agency in which one brokerage will be responsible for working on the seller's behalf as well as the buyer's behalf. If that comes up, you will definitely be notified in writing, and you will also, we have to tell you about that. But be assured, if that does come up, both the seller and the buyer will be treated with fairness and the same honesty. We have a document called a buyer-broker agreement. What it is and why you should sign it. A buyer-broker agreement indicates that a client and a real estate agent have entered into a contract together to work together. It spells out what the agent is going to do for you. It authorizes a brokerage firm to represent you when you're ready to purchase a home. And for a certain period of time, we will work together, and that's what the buyer broker agreement spells out. And we encourage you to sign those so that we're in covenant with one another. If you don't sign it, you're just a customer, and we're not necessarily obligated by those fiduciary duties. So it's imperative that you do sign the buyer broker agreement. Now, let's get to another interesting part, how to prepare for house hunting. First of all, let me assure you that there is no right time to buy. You may say, well, I'm going to wait till the interest rates go down and then the house prices go up. You may say, well, I'm going to save some more money for a down payment, and then the house prices go up and the money that you saved is not enough. The right time to buy a home is now, when you are on a call like this, getting the information that you need in order to make the purchase. Don't be scared. We'll be with you and we'll walk you through it. Don't ask too many people for too many opinions. Opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone has one. And if you try to consider everyone's opinion, you will be bombarded. Focus on your opinion, your wants. Basically, just the people who are going to be living in the house. You need to listen to their opinions. Consider those as your top priority. Accept the fact also that no house is ever perfect. On rare occasions, you'll be able to walk into a house and say, this is it, this is my perfect home, I'm going to be here forever. Where's the paperwork? Many times people start out with homes that are starter homes in order to get them to their perfect house. So don't be discouraged if you don't find a house that's not perfect. It may be doable for a time being until you can get to your perfect home. And try not to be a killer negotiator. If a person is offering a house for sale for $500,000 and you say, well, I'm going to see if I can get this down, I'm going to offer $475,000. Be assured, this is a seller's market. And if that house is being offered at $500,000, there's a line of people out there willing to pay $525,000, $530,000, and $535,000. So while you're sitting back here being your killer negotiator, someone else is off signing their purchase agreement. Listen to your real estate agent. We are here to guide you. We are here to advise you. And plan ahead. Get pre-approved first. This is very, very important. When you're looking at homes and you're ready to go ahead and proceed with the purchase agreement, people want to see that a mortgage company has agreed, has deemed you reliable, and you are approved for a certain amount of money to pay for that home. You don't want to start looking at homes that are $700,000 and you're only going to get approved for $500,000. So be sure to get a pre-approval letter, and Joe Soto is going to come later on and he's going to explain more about the pre-approval process. How to prepare to buy a home. Number one, I can't reiterate this more. Work with your lender. Listen to us. We are on your side. Your lender is on your side. We want the best for you. We will not steer you wrong. Be ready to move. That dress that you haven't worn in 20 years, but you enjoyed, you loved it when you bought it, it's time to get rid of it. Don't take things with you to your new property that you're not going to use. Clean out your garage. Clean out your closets. You don't want to take excess things to your brand new home. And then put pen to paper and select where you want to live. Narrow your search down as precisely as you can. Do you want to be near schools? Do you need to be near the freeway? Do you need to be where your job? That'll save a lot of time when looking for your home. I suggest that you get out a worksheet and track your budget. Take account as to how much you're spending each month on bills, on gas, on groceries. This is going to give you a good ballpark figure as to how much you will be able to spend on a monthly mortgage. So track your budget and take care of things that you're spending. And if at all possible, pay off any credit cards that you have, or definitely pay them on time if you do anything else. Make sure you keep paying your credit cards off. Speaking of credit, what to know about credit scores. Credit scores are applicable with regards to getting a loan or a mortgage. And again, Joe Soto is going to address that more in his presentation. I'm not a numbers person. Joe is. So we'll turn that over to him. Okay, Okay, this concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. And I am now happy to hand off this portion to the running realtor, my coworker, Miss Glennis Selden. Glenn Spin herself. Take it away, Glennis.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That was awesome. So I just want to take a little moment to answer the two questions here. One of the questions is about what about the COVID-19 that could be in and around the property. I'm actually going to talk about that during my slide, so I'll answer that shortly. And then Joe will be able to answer, will you help someone with bad credit to get a good level of credit to buy a home? So he's our numbers guy, he's our credit guy, he's our money guy. He will definitely answer that question when he comes up. So with that being said, my name is Glennis Selden. I am the daughter of Teresa Miller. I am the silent S of the M M's team. Just pretend like there's apostrophe, so they forgot about me. But Miller and Miller is what the M M team stands for. So that's my mom and my stepdad. I was a little behind the scenes at first, so I've had my license now for over 10 years. And in the beginning, I just helped my mom, maybe paperwork, things like that, or show homes if she wasn't available, because you have to have a license to do those things. I never really took selling residential real estate serious because I had my own life, my own path, didn't want to follow in her footsteps. I was training to be an Olympic runner. I ended up injuring my Achilles. And if you know me and you follow me, I'm all about fitness. I've been about fitness since I was 8 years old. So that is my lifestyle. That is my passion. That is what I was following. However, my mom, when she retired, she went full-time into the M M Team Realty, and she kind of did a Kris Jenner move. So I am now on the team full-time. So I've been there now I've been doing this full-time now for about 2 to almost 3 years. And I'm actually enjoying it. I probably should listen to her a long time ago, but it is great. Especially I'm able to help people that are my age, 30 and up, our younger generation, to let you guys know that it is possible to buy a home. You don't have to start super, super big. You can start small, but it is possible to get out there and get your feet wet into home ownership. I bought my first condo in 2018, so about 2 years ago. As Claudia mentioned earlier, I too started the condo route because it is a lot easier for me to maintain. It is less maintenance as far as it goes with the maintenance of the outside. I just worry about what's in my four walls, and that is great with me at the moment. So I am actually going to talk about the property. So I've been in the position that you guys are in on both sides. I've been a realtor and I've been in that first time home buying process, and it is scary. I can tell you this is a lot of anxiety happens. You don't really know what's going on. I wasn't really on that side of things, so I didn't get to see the behind the scenes where you're working with Joe and the underwriters and filling out paperwork on top of paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork. They're getting really nosy into all of your business. So I didn't know any of that side. I'm only on the side where, showing houses, doing the contracts, walking my clients through the process. So having experienced that, even though I haven't been full-time for a long time in real estate, having that experience is what is helping me with my clients today. So I'm going to talk about finding the property. You want to define your dream home. You really want to make a list of the things that you want versus the things that you need. You need a 2-bedroom house. You need 2 bathrooms. You need a kitchen, open space. You may want a pool. You may want certain things, the backyard to look a certain way, or you may want the mailbox to be on the right side instead of the left side. Those are things that are not a deal breaker. Those are things that if in a perfect world, I can get this, but it shouldn't stop you from finding a home. A lot of times, first-time home buyers want $1 million home and they don't have $1 million budget. And that is absolutely okay. You can find a very nice home in your budget. The key here is you want to get started in home ownership because, as Claudia said, she bought her first condo in the 90s, and now today it's probably worth way more than what it was then. I bought my home 2 years ago and it's already have equity in the home. I bought it on a price, and then a year later, my neighbor bought the same exact condo for $40,000 more than what I paid. And that's crazy. So you want to get in the game early if you can. You want to ask questions about the neighborhood. How is it safe-wise? Is it safe? Do you like it? Are there schools around? Maybe you drive around at nighttime and you take a look and see what it looks like at all hours of the day. During school hours with COVID-19, there's no school, so it may look peaceful. But during school time, you have maybe traffic in the beginning, maybe traffic at the early part of the day, maybe traffic at the end of the day. So you want to have all those things into consideration when you're buying a home. If the condo route is for you, you may have a homeowners association. Even if you're not buying a condo, let me take that back. There are communities where single family homes where they do have a homeowners association. In Corona, I bought my home in Corona. In Corona, there's a lot of communities and there are a lot of homes, single family homes, and they have homeowners association because they may have a community pool, they may have a community tennis court, they may have a community park. Those are the things that you are paying for when you buy it with a homeowner association. In a condo or townhome, you want to see, is there any storage space? Where is the storage space? For me, my storage is a carport box. It's a lot of storage, actually. You want to see, is there any outdoor space? Sometimes there's storage on the balcony of your condos or townhomes. Sometimes there's storage. You may have access to a one-car garage in condos and townhomes. Those are things that you want to really find out if storage is something that you need. If it's not, then you just keep it pushing. What are the amenities that are offered? We're not going to talk about my amenities. I just got a pool and a laundry room that they need to. This is something that I should have did when I was buying my first condo. So you want to find out what the amenities are. How do they keep up the amenities? How much is the homeowners association fee? And that could vary anywhere between $100 and it can go up to probably $600-700. It just depends on the community and the location of where you are. You want to ask questions about the condo board. Find out, are they FHA approved? Oftentimes right now, it's very challenging to find a condo that is FHA approved. The reason being is because those homeowners associations probably don't want to do the things that they need to do to get the condo and the community up to being FHA approved. FHA is a majority government-backed loan, so they have a little bit different and a little more stricter guidelines that we have to follow in order for those complexes to be FHA approved. And sometimes they don't want to do that. So that could be a challenge that you face. So that is what the realtors are here for you to do, to look into that, to really go behind the scenes. If you like something, to go ask if it's FHA approved, research and do those things, because sometimes it could be pending. Sometimes they could be about to get FHA approved. So that's what we're here for. You want to find out how many owner-occupied units are in your community if you are doing the condo and townhome route. When you rent, I mean, not to say that renters don't care for their properties, because when I was renting, I took really great care of my home, and I'm just a very neat and organized person. However, you can tell a renter from a owner. In the condo that I'm at now, the renters, like balconies and patios are kind of like cluttered and it's messier. Whereas the owners, not to say owners are neater, but a lot of times the owners, you can tell they have like plants on their balcony. They care about it. They make it pretty. So you really want to find that out. Also, that brings value to your property as well. More owners into the property because they're caring for it. I was showing a property I was going to show a property in Corona, and 26% of the units was owned by one person, which means that there's a lot of renters there. So that's something that I would tell my client, like, hey, I don't know, like we can go check it out, but just know that it may not look like the pictures because renters are different than owners. You want to ask about any covenants, any bylaws, any restrictions, any pending litigations that are on the property. You want to find out, do they have reserve funds, and how is the money used? So I just closed a deal where it was, Joe Soto is the man, but it was a situation where the reserves were low and they had no inkling in fixing that. They didn't care. They just operated on a short budget. That's just how it is. So if people are coming in to buy condos, there has to be a certain amount of reserve funds in that. So if you want to make sure that we find that out. If not, if you don't have enough, it could mean that you have to bring in more money for your down payment. And then you got to realize, do you have access to more money for a down payment? Is there anyone that you can ask to help you with that down payment? So that was the situation that happened with us. We didn't find out until the very end. Sometimes the seller's agent know those things, and sometimes they don't know those things. And it's just one of those things that you just find out during the process of buying a home, during escrow, and it could definitely freak you out. But I'm here to calm you down. But that is something that we want to find out about. Are there any special assessments? Special assessments are pretty much something that, so about 3-4 years ago, back in 2015, 2016, I want to say, my condo was replacing the balconies here. And so all of the homeowners had to put in $75 on top of their normal HOA dues. So that $75 went on for about a year or two so that they could fix and update everything here. So sometimes it says that when we're researching property, and sometimes it doesn't say that. So that's something that we want to make sure that we ask. The reserves funds, let me go back to the reserves funds. Reserves funds is basically money that they need in case of a catastrophe, like in case of an emergency happen, they want to have a certain amount of money in that reserves fund. So if they have to, for us, we had to redo our pavement over here. Honestly, I don't know why we redid that, but that is not important at all. But we had to redo our pavement, and so they tapped into the reserves to redo that over here. So that's what that is used. I think it's way more important things that they could be doing, but we're not going to talk about that. How are board members selected and how long is their term? This is really important to find out. I have the worst HOA board president in the universe. I don't know if anyone else has a worse one than mine. She can't walk. She barely talks. She don't like us. She just is discriminatory. She racist. It's a lot going on over here, and I just wish she would hurry up and let somebody else be there. But that is something that you want to find out, because the president really makes things happen in the community. If you want things changed, you have to go through the president. And if they are dragging their feet and they don't care about it because it doesn't necessarily affect them, they're not going to make the change like you want the change to be made. So this is something that it's really important to really look into. Now, once you find your home and now we have made an offer, we get to choose an inspector, home inspector. We want to make sure the property is up to the codes, basically safe and healthy for you to move in. So plumbing, electricity, those type of things are super important. So choosing your home inspector. You may have friends that you may know people that are starting their business, and that is somebody that you may want to use as a home inspector. A lot of times, first-time home buyers don't have access to home inspectors and don't really know who to choose. And we work with a great team, and we can definitely refer someone to you and set that process up for you. A home inspection is something that you do pay for in the beginning of the process. So right along with your initial deposit, which Taylor will go over in a few minutes to let you know exactly what it is. But as long as with your initial deposit, you pay for an appraisal and a home inspection up front. So those are things that you really want to have money set aside for. A home inspection approximately could be as low as $350, and then depending on the package that you get, it can go up. Will the home be sold as is, or will the sellers pay for repairs? That is something that we want to look into as well. Right now, a lot of homes are being sold as is because people just want to get out the home and they just want to go. They don't want to make a lot of improvements, and that's where we can come in and negotiate a lot of things on your behalf. But if the home isn't being sold as is, we'll have a home inspection. We'll go over that report, and then we'll ask for the things that we would like to be completed. If they will do it for us. They have an option of saying yes, and they have an option of saying no, and they have an option of just giving us the money to pay. Property taxes. The property taxes you want to find out, you may have a supplemental tax. So basically, in layman's terms, supplemental tax is basically the value of the home. So when the home was sold in 2016 versus when the home is sold in 2018, the value of the home could be different, and the taxes will be on that. So in 2018, when I bought my condo, my taxes were different. So I received a supplemental tax bill for like $200 because the value of my home was different than what it was when the last seller bought the home. So that could be something that comes up when you have your supplemental tax. The last thing I want to talk about is about with COVID-19 going on right now. So with COVID-19 going on, the Realtors Association, NAR, CAR, California Association of Realtors, are really working hard to make sure that our clients are safe, to make sure that the realtors are safe when showing homes. So now, as Claudia said, gone are the days of open houses. There are no longer open houses. We don't have those anymore. However, we can still go see and view the property. If you follow me on social media, you see me always masked up, gloves, sometimes booties. Sometimes they have slippers for us to wear, which is very nasty. I would not put on somebody else's slippers. Just take your shoes off. But those are things that they're doing to make sure that we don't spread the COVID-19. There's a form that we must fill out, everyone, the sellers, the buyers, anyone that is going into this property, to make sure that they're basically saying that their home doesn't have anything as far as COVID-19. That's what they're saying. And they're saying, and we're saying that we haven't been in contact, that we don't have it. And the form is also saying that you may be in contact with someone that has, because we don't know who is visiting the property. So those are the new things. I know we had a question about COVID-19. Those are the new things that we are doing with COVID-19. We have to have on gloves. They request us to wear masks. That form must be signed and filled out. Usually they like it within 24 hours or like right before we go see the property. And you do that for every single property that we go see. I don't know when that will go away, but that is something that is new that we are doing, that is required for us to do right now. And then with that being said, I think that is it. If you guys have any questions about whatever I spoke about and whatever Claudia spoke about, please put it in the Q&A, and I am going to pass it over to the amazing realtor on our team. She's awesome. I was so happy when we got a young one on the team. I love Claudia too. She is amazing. But I was happy Claudia came because my mama needed somebody to talk to, and I was tired of being that person. And Taylor came in. Now she on my side. So, we got it going on. Taylor was top producer last year. She just closed almost close to $1 million deal. So she is rocking it out. She's going to go over the actual transaction, what happens after we find that home and we have contracts. And now she's going to go into that. So take it away, Tay.
Thank you so much. That was great. It made me feel all good. Yes, I was top producer last year, and I'm, trying to keep that going, even though everybody's trying to catch up to me, but I never back down from a challenge, so we'll see. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the transaction and all the documents and the process that goes into purchasing a home. So of course you go and look at however many homes you want to look at. We can look at 5 in a day. If you happen to like those 5, we can put in an offer in all 5. However, when it comes down to it, you can only purchase one home. So I know that sometimes people think that if they work with different lenders or different agents or whatever, we're not going to find out. We're going to find out because at the end of the day, your financial portfolio is what it is. So you cannot purchase 2 homes at a time, 1 house, 1 escrow. But we can put in multiple offers, especially in today's market. There's so many buyers, not that many homes on for sale. So it might take a couple of offers for you to actually get the home that is for you. So when we submit these offers, we are going to submit a residential purchase agreement. And that is where we put in all our negotiation tools. We ask for whatever it is that we want, and then we also offer what we want to offer. So one of the things that's included in the residential purchase agreement is, of course, the home warranty. That is something that is required by the lender. That protects the home from any, heaven forbid, something happens where it catches on fire or pipes burst or something like that. You want to make sure that your personal items are covered in that as well. So you can bundle that in with your, that's actually homeowner's insurance, sorry. Homeowner's warranty covers, homeowner's warranty covers, well, it could cover pipes and like your, what am I thinking of? Water heater, stuff like that, those things. So that is something that's also required by the lender as well. Termite, whether or not you're purchasing the home as is or not will kind of determine if we ask for termite. Typically we do, and typically sellers are willing to take care of those cost repairs if there are any repairs. If you are using a VA loan, that is a requirement, so you can't really negotiate that. Termite has to be cleared and of all of that good stuff. Earnest money deposit. So this is the deposit that you put down when you open escrow. This is not an additional charge. This is something that you send to escrow to basically tell the sellers, hey, I'm very serious about this home. I really, really want it, so much so that I'm going to allow you to hold a portion of my funds that I would have to bring to closing. So we always at least ask, or we at least offer $5,000. You can offer more to make your offer a little bit stronger, that it could be very attractive to the seller. So it's totally up to you, but at least $5,000. So you just want to keep that in the back of your mind, because that is a pre-closing expense. And then another thing we like to include is the buyer's offer letter and photo. So this is something that we use to pull on the heartstrings of the seller a little bit, let them know why the home is perfect for you and your family or yourself, whoever it is that you're purchasing with or for. You just want to, show them that you're going to take care of it, show them that you really, really love it and appreciate them maintaining the home for you as the new homeowner. Your service provider contacts. So of course your escrow is going to be a very, very important contact that you want to keep on hand, because of course they're the middleman or the liaison between the agents and the clients and everybody in the transaction, really. So you want to keep that on hand. And then general contractors, if you plan on painting or you plan on changing the pipes or doing the floors, we can provide those contacts to you if you don't have them already. But of course, there are still contacts that you want to keep on hand so that you're ready to go when you have the keys to your home. Title company, so that's another contact, and you have to get title insurance as a requirement from the lender. Title insurance protects the lender and the buyer from any financial loss due to defects in the title from the very beginning of when the home was built. So if years ago somebody didn't get their paperwork signed properly, or somebody tries to claim that they have interest in the home and they really don't, this protects you from any issues related to that. And then homeowners insurance, what I kind of spoke about earlier, that is what you can also bundle into your car insurance. And if you have a boat, a lot of times they'll give you a little discount if you bundle that in. But you want to make sure you have enough coverage, cover your personal items, not just your stove or whatever it is that's involved. You want to cover the things that you really care about as well. So talk to your rep, make sure that that's all included. So of course, there's a lot of other disclosures and documents that we'll have to sign in between that process. We like to get all of this taken care of within the first week or two of the transaction to make sure that nobody's waiting for us, right? And then once you get toward the end, you'll sign your loan docs, which Joe will go over a little bit later. But you'll sign your docs and you'll wire your final funds. So everything that was required of you outside of your earnest money deposit, all your down payment, your closing costs, all of that stuff, that's where you'll wire the funds to escrow. And then funding of your loan will occur the next day after signing. We'll do your final walkthrough. So Glennis spoke about doing the home buyer's inspection. And so once you get that inspection report, if you find out that there's something in the report that you're not really comfortable with and you want it to be taken care of by the sellers, this is when we double check to make sure that that was actually taken care of. And if there's any other issues that are related to that, and you just want to make sure that you're going to receive the home in the condition that you're expecting to. And so after that, your deed will record in your name. And once we get confirmation of that, you'll receive your keys. We'll take a photo. We celebrate. We get you a nice little gift. Typically, or I'll say the standard time frame for all of this to happen is about 30 days. But that can change depending on the situation of the purchase. So you could be in a contingent sale where the seller has to find another home and maybe they need a little bit more time. Or you could also just be ready to go and say, hey, I want to do this in 15 or 21 days, which is could also be very attractive to the seller and a way for us to negotiate. And when you work with such a great lender like Joe, we can make that happen. It's been times I've texted or called Joe like, can we do a 21-day? Can we do a 15-day? Because I really want to get this house for my buyer and we want it to go quickly. And he's like, let's do it. So unless there's anything, going on behind the scenes or on the other side to where we can't make it happen, usually we could do it in less than 30 days. So I think that's pretty cool because we're on top of our game. And a lot of times, I won't speak about others, but yeah, so we are very proud of that. So I'm going to kind of hand this over to Vaughn. Vaughn is our newest member on our team. He's going to walk you through the move process. We don't just, abandon you after we hand you your keys. We are family now, right? We've been through such a a stressful process together and an exciting process as well, obviously, because we've helped you purchase your home, and it's really a great feeling for the both of us, honestly, to hand you your keys. So if you need any contacts after, we're definitely here. Actually, I just closed escrow a couple of days, and my clients are still hitting me up, for things that they might need or they're unsure of, and I'm happy to help because that's what I'm here for. So anyway, Vaughn is our newest member. He's really, really cool. I know Teresa kind of told you a little bit about him, but I'll let him take it away.
Hello. So yes, I'm Mr. Von Carr. As Tay said, I'm actually the newest member of the M M team. I've been here for just about a year now. I've actually been in real estate for just under 3 years. I actually started off as an assistant to another agent, and I worked with a few transactions with him and just kind of fell in love with the business through there and got my own license, and I've been practicing ever since. But the thing that I want to discuss with you is the best part and everybody's favorite part about purchasing the property, to move. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is prepare for the move. Once you've gone through escrow and this is your new home, you found your dream home, and you're going there, the most important number one thing you can do is update your mailing address. It sounds small, but it's a really big thing. This ensures that any mail or packages that you have makes it over to the new address. And you also want to update your car registration and your driver's license, things like that with DMV. If you're a pet owner, you want to go ahead and make sure you update your pet tags. The last thing you want is for your dog or your cat to be outside in a new environment and they get separated from home and there's no way that they can return them back to their home. So yeah, that's the very first thing you can do is update your mailing address and also contact the utility companies. That ensures that once you move into the new home, you have services there. I know you'd hate to move in and have to sit in the dark or be in the cold because you forgot to call the gas company. And as you're preparing, you want to, of course, pack. We say pack like a pro. And again, it's all about planning. You plan ahead, kind of make a to-do list out of it. And you want to keep things as organized as possible. So something I always suggest is to label the boxes by room and also use it as a chance to declutter. I know Claudia mentioned earlier, if that dress has been sitting in the closet for 20 years, you might want to reconsider if you want to move it to the new home with you. But yeah, so that's a really big thing. Just take the time to declutter, keep everything organized so that the transition from the old home to the new home can be just a simple process. And lastly, really, the most important thing overall you can do is once you close escrow, receive those new keys, and you got everything packed up, you're ready to move in. Once you get there, you want to change your locks because I say just think about it. Even if this seller was the nicest seller on earth and you guys have had the smoothest transaction, I don't think you want some random stranger just having the keys to your home. So I always suggest that you change the locks once everything's closed and you receive your keys. But yeah, that's pretty much the quick version, the simple version of getting into that new home. You just want to again prepare, update your mailing address, utility bills, make sure pet tags are updated. Pack in an organized way and use that as a chance to declutter. And once you get in, you want to just change the locks. Make sure you're the only person that has access to this new property. But yeah, that's all I pretty much have for you. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Joe and let him give you his take on the loan process.
Awesome. Thanks, Vaughn. I appreciate it. Super good. Make sure you change those locks, people.
Where you change the locks.
We live in a crazy world. I don't need the crazy previous owner having keys to my house. I got daughters and kids and pets. But I can't tell you how many people talk about not changing the locks. They're like, I'm fine with those same locks.
Hey,
I'm
Joe,
like, yes.
I have the results from the poll. So while you're getting your PowerPoint, I'm going to share those results.
Okay.
Can everyone see the results? So we have at the moment 25 people on the call. So I'm sure some did not get the opportunity to jump in, but the majority of our people are first-time buyers, and they're looking to buy within now in the next 6 months, and they have not signed a buyer broker agreement, and they're excited and looking forward to working with us. All righty. There. So that was just my excuse to give you time, Mr. Soto.
That was good. That was perfect. Seamless.
Hey.
That's professional right there. See that? We drew it just how we drew it up.
That's right.
Let's see if these slides work.
I see them. I see them.
All right. So we're going to go through the home buying process and talk a little bit about what goes into getting approved and buying a home, right? Because it's definitely a moving target. It's a process, as I like to tell people. I was born in Puerto Rico. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Single mom. We didn't have much growing up. I mean, there was no family member who was going to say, here's a stack of money, go buy a house. So for me to be able to buy a property and move up was definitely a process, right? It took a lot to get there. And kind of like Glenna said, you know, my wife and I started with a small starter home and then moved up and then moved up and then moved again. And ultimately, that's a great way to do it, right? Unless you have that lump sum of money, the traditional way to do it is to buy something, take those funds and roll that into the next property and use that equity and that investment as your down payment. That's why you see people who are coming in with 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 down. It's a lot of times because they're rolling their equity into another property. So definitely good point by Glennis to just talk about get into something and then use that to get into the next couple of properties. So I will tell you that I'm going to use some terms that you're not going to understand. Some of this may seem like French. So I urge you to ask a lot of questions. If this was a live environment, I do really well if people ask a lot of questions. I can be entertaining, but I'm not here to be entertaining. I'm here to give you as much information as possible. So whatever questions that you have, you can definitely shoot onto the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. If I say something you don't understand, fire away. I'm here to obviously be of service to you and help give you clarity on this process. So I'm Joe Soto, Cross Country Mortgage. I like to joke and say husband, father, all around good guy who likes to do mortgages. Phone number is super simple. It's 866-JOE-SOTO. Yes, I did find that number was available. So if you ever have a mortgage related question, you can call me on that anytime. And me or somebody on my team will answer that for you. So here's what we're going to cover throughout this process. We're going to talk about ICE. And what ICE stands for is income, credit, and equity. Those are the three most important pieces that the bank looks at when they're helping you buy a house or pre-approving you for a house. We're going to talk about loan types, programs, and down payment assistance programs. We're going to talk about the difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. And at the end, we're going to empower you to get started on buying a home and getting that pre-approval started. So we will roll through. What does ICE stand for? Yes, this is the best picture that I could find online when I Googled ICE and Vanilla Ice. You can't see the awesomeness of his haircut here, but it was great back in the day. ICE stands for income, credit, and equity. So when you're applying for a mortgage, the things that the bank looks at, they look at how much money you make, what's your income, what's the stability, what's your ability to repay, right? How can you repay that mortgage if we give you a mortgage? Second thing we look at is your credit. What is your FICO score? Do you have any judgments, collections, bankruptcies, foreclosures? We look at the total credit profile to help you to see what's going to fit the guidelines for the bank. And then the third thing we look at is the equity. Equity is also known as down payment. How much money can you put down? How much money do you have in the bank that's going to be left over after you close, right? Do you have $20,000 in the bank and is every dollar going towards credit? Do you need towards closing? Do you need additional money? Do you not need additional money? What does that look like? So those are the three pieces that we're going to talk about. So how the lender sees your income. Or when we qualify you, you could have two types of income. You could have W-2 income or self-employed income. So if you're W-2, it means you work for a company. You either get paid a salary, you get paid hourly, you can get commissions, bonus, any of that stuff. So the rule of thumb on bonus and commission income is that you have to have a 2-year history of it. So if you just started a new job and you've been making $10,000 a month in bonus, unless you have a history of making that for 2 years, it's not going to be considered usable income. You would only qualify on your base pay. Same thing with overtime. So if you're making overtime, right now it's very unique because with COVID, so many people's overtime have been affected, right? You could have been working a ton of overtime last year or maybe even up till February of this year, but maybe that's slowed down. That's another thing that the underwriter is going to look at when they're reviewing your documents. So that's one other piece of the puzzle. And then the other thing is cash. Cash is king. Cash is awesome. Cash is just as good as money. But cash is not good when you're buying a house. Cash does not help you qualify. So cash tips if you're a server, if you're a bartender, if you're in, if you do hair, nails, any of that stuff. A lot of clients who make cash, unless you claim it on your tax return, cannot be used for income. I'm going to look. If I stop, it's because I'm looking at the questions. So I apologize. Unless, Glennis, if you want to jump in and tell me there's a question, you can. I'll just answer it when it comes through.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
just one that says, what do you recommend a strong down payment on a property between $500,000 and $600,000?
Okay, good question on down payment. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But strong down payment is like $500,000 or $600,000. You're paying cash. That's the strongest that you could do. And I'm sorry if I'm yelling. Just tell me. I just speak really loudly. Strong down payment could be 20%. That's probably considered a really strong. So on a $500,000 house, that's $100,000. That being said, you could buy a $500,000 or $600,000 house with 3.5% or 5% down, right? There's the odds of a loan closing with 20% versus 5% down are not any greater. The person putting 20% down can fall out of escrow and not qualify just as easy as the person putting 5% down. That doesn't make or break the person's ability to repay, right? That person putting 20, 30, 50% down can still get laid off because of COVID and not be able to buy that house. So ultimately, I think it's, even if you're putting 3 or 5% down, it's up to the lender and your agent to let the seller know that you're still a strong buyer, regardless of how much money you're putting as the initial down payment. That doesn't, affect you from being able to buy a home. You're still going to be able to get an offer accepted. So I hope that answered that question. Self-employed clients. This is a tough time right now to be self-employed. Kudos to anybody out there who's working for their own business. Right now with COVID, it's been crazy. I mean, I've got clients in hotel, in restaurant. I've got clients who own all types of businesses that their business is down 30, 40%. It just is. So if you're self-employed, basically what we're going to look at from an underwriting standpoint is 2 years of tax returns. So whatever, again, not what you make on the taxes, your gross receipts. I just had a client, really super sweet lady, had healthcare business, had $900,000 of gross receipts, like sales. On her tax return, she showed negative $56,000. So she wrote off everything and actually showed a loss. Well, from a bank standpoint, we don't look at the $900,000. We look ultimately at the negative $56,000. So you have to be really careful when you're self-employed on how you file those taxes. And if anybody out there is self-employed and you want some guidance on that, reach out to me. I'll try to guide you through that process to help you purchase a property. There are programs for people who are self-employed where they can qualify with bank statements only. We do have access to some of those programs too. Typically, they require a little bit more down. You may be required to put like 10% down at least, but you're able to get a home even if your taxes don't show as much income. So there are other options for people who are self-employed, where that's sometimes it's just it's a little bit of a puzzle, but that's what we're here to help you figure out. Any questions?
I got a question.
Our loan will be a VA loan. How much is needed in the bank? So on a VA loan, and we'll touch on VA loans a little bit, VA loan is required 0 down. So you're not required to put any down payment on a VA loan. I want to thank you for your service, and I'm super grateful for you and anybody else who may be on this call who has served our country, but the VA loan is literally the best loan that's out there in the world. You 0 down payment, no mortgage insurance. It's a really, really awesome program. After you put the 0 down, you're not required to have additional reserves. You may need money for closing costs unless it's negotiated in, which the M M team is really good at doing. But the VA basically says you could put no money down. They don't cover closing costs in most situations. So the VA is not a bank. They're not lending the money. So you're still going to have closing costs, but you don't have to have additional reserves, because I think that's what the question was additional money. How much do we need in the bank? And the employment's good. So you don't need additional money. You just need money for closing costs. Closing cost number could be about 2% of the purchase price, something like that. Self-employed. We covered corporate tax returns, all of that fun stuff. So how about if you've been in school? Let me see. Sorry, my mouse is giving me a hard time. How about if you've been in school or you've had a job gap, right? I've been getting this a lot. I was a stay-at-home mom and now I'm working. Can I buy a house? I was in school and now I got a real job. Can I buy a house? Education does count as experience. So you're okay from that standpoint, where you can show you were in school and now you're working. Here's your new pay. So you don't have to have a 2-year history in that sense if you've been in school. So that's good. Internships, that counts to bridge that job gap. So you could have worked at Jamba Juice, gone to school, and then gotten a real job. You would be able to qualify with that new income, even though you recently started that job and do not have a 2-year history on it. Same thing if you're a stay-at-home mom. If you've been a stay-at-home mom for an extended period of time and now you're back in the workforce, right, you may be able to use your income now, and not, even though you don't have a 2-year history, use that income that you're making now. We do have to connect the dots a little bit. It gets a little bit tricky. I actually just had a client with that situation where we had to verify her job prior to being a stay-at-home mom. And it was a long time ago. It was a previous job was actually at 7-Eleven. And we went back and verified she was 7-Eleven, stay-at-home mom, and now she's got a different job. And we were able to help her get pre-approved and get into a home. So if you're a stay-at-home mom out there, you definitely still have options. You don't have to have that 2-year requirement. I think that's a little bit of a gray area, but there's a little trick of the trade. Any questions on income? Income. Jobs. Self-employed. What do you do?
So it says, are there any loan or down payment assistance programs available for specific, i.e. examples, public safety or the teachers?
Yes, we'll get to that, Christopher. We'll talk about the down payment assistance programs. That'll be a little bit later. But yes, there's a program available for teachers. Gives you a little bit more assistance that helps you out. Back in the day, there used to be other programs available, but right now we'll touch on that definitely when we get to it.
I have a question, Joe. I can't type in the chat, sorry.
Yeah.
What if you have been on the job for maybe like 1.5 years, not quite 2 years, so you don't have 2 W-2s? Does that kind of take you out of the game, or can you work?
depends on what you did prior. So depends on what you did prior and what your and how you're paid. So let's just say you've been at a job for a year and a half and you get a salary. As long as we can verify what the previous job was, should be fine, right? We should be able to use that new salary. If you've been at the job a year and a half and you're hourly, we would take an average of your hourly income, the hourly wage, and use that. But again, we're going to want to see a 2-year history, right? We're still going to need to see what you've done for 2 years. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2 years at Apple, right? You could be, I've been at Apple for a year and 6 months, and before that, I was a student, or before that, I worked for Samsung. I don't know, just picking a company, whatever it was. So it could be anything, but good question. Any other questions about income? Because there's lots of moving targets, moving pieces on income.
Can you, if you're buying a home and somebody's moving with you and they're not going to be on the deed, can they write a letter or something saying, I'm going to pay this person X amount of dollars every month to go toward the mortgage? Does that?
So you can't use like a renter, right? Like, let's say you and I, Taylor, I was going to buy a place, but you were going to rent a room from me. I can't use that as income because I haven't been receiving it. But let's say you and I are roommates now, and you're paying me $500 a month, and you've been doing that for the last 12 months. And I can show that, I may be able to use that. Very tricky situation, but you have to be able to document it for a year. So, good question. How does an income decrease affect your ability to be approved, even if you have no debt? Good question. So, how does your income decrease? So, right now we're seeing that with COVID, where people's hours, I've got a client who works for AEG, which is the company that runs LA Live. They do concerts for a living. Well, I don't know if you've noticed, there ain't no concerts happening, like zero. So his income is down 30%. They basically said everybody across the board is down 30%. Veronica works for AEG. Oh, I hope you don't know my guy. His pay was cut. So if your pay is cut, we're going to qualify you on what the current pay is. So if you were $100,000 a year salary and now they took you to 70, we're going to look at the 70. It's a little bit of a gray area right now with COVID, because we're going to want to see that you still have stability to continue to make the 70. We don't want there to be any chance that you can be furloughed or let go to where you'd be making zero. So it's got to be a really strong 70. If you're working at a company and you just took another job and you're making a little bit less money, then we're going to use whatever the current income is. But that's a really, really good question. Anything else on income? Any of the panelists have income questions?
I'm going to ask another question, just questions I've been hearing too. But
this is good.
Like COVID, since COVID's been here, people have gotten their pay cut. What if it's a temporary thing and their employer is saying, well, we're only going to cut your pay for X amount of months and then you're going to go back to your normal pay? Can you then count the pay that they're going to be receiving, in the next couple of months, or is it still what they're currently making?
If I was giving out prizes for best questions, Taylor, you would win. So that's a great question. And they can go back, right? But they'd have to show, if you want to use that higher income, so let's just say your income it went from $5,000 a month to $4,000 a month. And now you want to use the $5,000 a month to qualify. In order to do that, they would actually have to have pay stubs that show they've been changed to $5,000 a month. I had a client, an agent called me recently, exact same situation. Client's pay was cut, furloughed. He said he was going back to work. This was like 2 months ago. So he said he was going back to work August 1st. And he wanted to use the August 1st pay, the new, the actual $7,000 a month or whatever it was. We can't use that income because we don't know for sure if he's going to go back to work. This guy actually worked for a very popular gym franchise. which he has not gone back to work since then, right? So too much risk. We'd want to see that he's actually getting the pay. Good question.
I have a question.
Go.
Okay, so what if you get paid bonuses and commission? And what if that is majority of your pay? So for example, when I was working at the gym, majority of my pay was bonuses and commission. That's just how our pay came out. How does that work? And per diem, if you receive per diem, can you use any of that towards your income, especially if it's majority of your pay? Could you get qualified for that?
Mm-hmm. So this is actually a really good question, because right now with COVID, we don't know what the long-term answer is, right? So let's say your commission was $20,000 last year, and this year with COVID, it's going to be $5,000, right? In the past, we would average that over 2 years. That's how the guideline would work. Right now, I would say if there's no commission, you're not going to be able to use any of it. I don't know, once this all plays out, what that is going to average out. Like, we're not sure what those guidelines are going to look like in the future. If, you know, it may be something where it's still a 2-year average, and those 6, 7, 8 months of making zero hurt you. Or it could be something you have to be back for 90 days and show that you're making the same amount for 90 days. Not sure. That's a moving target. Same thing with per diem. You get this a lot with nurses and teachers and things like that, where they may work extra shifts or do different things. That's another thing where you have to show that you need a 2-year history. It's almost like overtime bonus and commission. You have to show that it's consistent for 2 years, no breaks. You see this a lot with teachers, specifically college professors who teach multiple classes. And so I've had a lot of teachers over the years who teach at Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach City College, and then they teach somewhere else. And that can be really sticky unless they can show that they've done those classes all 3 years. Like if you're trying to use summer school income, you have to show that you've been working summer school income. So that gets a little bit more tricky, but you can use it if you've been doing it consistently. Good question. Awesome. Anybody else? Good questions. I appreciate the feedback. And again, this is an open forum. If you have questions, just fire. Everybody's thinking the same thing. We've all got different questions, so just ask away. So we're going to talk a little bit about credit score. Whoops. Let's talk about what goes into your credit score. 35% of your credit score is your payment history, making your payments on time. 30% is debt utilization. 15 is your length of credit history. How long have you had credit? 10% is your new credit, so making sure you're taking on new stuff and you're paying it on time. And then the other 10% is types of credit. So those are all the different things that go into your credit score, right? The most important, obviously, is paying everything on time, is your credit history. But the other part is debt utilization. So what percentage of your debt goes towards, what percentage of your credit limit is taken up by your debts? The rule of thumb, you want to have it under 50%, right? If you have a $10,000 credit limit, you want to keep that credit card balance under $5,000. For it to be good credit, you really want to keep it under $3,000, under 30% for it to be excellent. But that's the key on debt utilization. What's a good credit score? I saw somebody ask about what scores the best. Everybody has apps, right? Everybody's got the apps that tell you my credit score is 900. Good credit score, somewhere about 700 to 720 is considered really, really good. When you get above 740, it's excellent. That being said, you can get a home, we can pre-approve you with the credit score. I got one approved recently with the 590. Those guidelines have changed a little bit, but you can get approved with as low as a 600 or 620. It's gotten, ever since COVID, it's gotten a little bit more tight on the lower credit scores. You need to have compensating factors and some other stuff, but anywhere from, I'd say 600 and above, you definitely have some options as far as getting approved. So we're to talk about a couple of different ways to repair your credit, because I get this question a lot.
Joe, sorry to interrupt, but there was a credit question. It
From
said,
Teresa.
yeah, why is my score different on Credit Karma and the score that the mortgage company runs?
Because Credit Karma is the worst. Teresa set me up on this, by the way. Look, she's laughing because she knows I have a hate-hate relationship with Credit Karma. All right, so I highly recommend that you monitor your credit. I think it's priceless for you to have a Credit Karma, an Experian, a MyFICO, any of those apps so that you can see what's reporting on your credit. I think that's fantastic. A lot of companies like a Credit Karma, even banks, give you a credit score on the app, right? Credit Karma, you open it up. I mean, if I had $1 for every person that texts me their Credit Karma score, I'd be rich. Credit Karma says I'm 780. So if you read the fine print, which nobody does, but that's okay because you're here with Joe Soto and he has read the fine print for you, it will tell you that the Credit Karma and most of those apps don't actually give you a FICO score. What they give you is a Vantage or a Beacon score. So when FICO score came out, FICO is the main scoring model used by lending institutions. Cars, banks, student loans, credit cards, all pull a FICO score for you. Fair Isaac credit system. They all pull a FICO score for you. Beacon and Vantage came out and said, we were going to take over and we're going to do this, and nobody has accepted Beacon and Vantage. So in an effort for them to make money, they've now shared these credit modulations with these companies. So they give you a score, but it's not a FICO score. If you read the fine print, it will tell you, like, this information cannot be used for credit purposes. I've seen those scores as high as 950, which we go on a FICO score. The highest FICO score you could have is 850. So I'll get clients sometimes, they're like, well, my app says I'm 942. And I'm like, probably not 942, but it's that's what the app says. The best credit apps to download, I like to download them directly from the bureau, is my own personal opinion. So if you downloaded something from Experian directly, I like that better than, a Credit Karma or a MyFICO.com. I think it's better to have something directly with the bureau. That being said, something is better than nothing. Free credit report is really good, although they don't give you a free credit report. But free credit report's another one that I think is pretty reasonably priced. But if it was me, I personally prefer to have it like I have it with Experian. I have my Experian app, and that's how I check it all. So that's what I would do personally. So how to get the credit up? Number one thing you can do is pay down your balances, right? High credit limits, low balances. That's really important. The next thing you can do is pay collections. So some people will tell you to pay collections. Some people will tell you not to pay collections. Well, leave it there. It's not doing anything. Just leave it there. I am a big believer in paying the collections and trying to get what's called a letter of deletion. And a letter of deletion is something from the collection company that says that they will remove whatever item it is from your credit report. So it'll come off like it was never there. Medical collections must be removed with a letter of deletion. So if you have a medical collection and you pay the whole thing, you should get a letter of deletion from them. That basically takes that blemish off your credit report like it's never been. If you have credit cards or cable bill, stuff like that goes into collections, cell phones, I see those all the time. Try your hardest to get that letter of deletion. Might be a little bit more challenging, but the letter of deletion will remove it from your credit bureaus. Building good credit. So the number one thing that you can do is build good accounts. How do you build good accounts if you're trying to build your credit? First thing you can do is get a secured credit card. Capital One is probably the best out there for secured credit cards. That's an easy way to get on a secure, to start building good credit. The other way that you can build good credit is by piggybacking on somebody else's credit. So one of the things that we saw was length of credit history, right? So for example, Claudia, I think, was it your son that was on here? So we'll pretend he doesn't hear this. But let's just say Claudia was my mom and I'm trying to build my credit. I could say, Mom, do you have any credit cards that you could put me on as an authorized user so that I can piggyback off of her credit history, her credit limit, and her low balance, right? I want a card that you've had for a long time with a high credit limit and a low balance. That will help you build good credit, right? So I'd say, hey, Mom, hook me up. I won't use the card. Here's what it is, just to help me build my score up. Again, a little bit of loophole because the bureaus don't realize, right? Your son could have been born in 1980 and you could have a card from 1982 and you can put him on the card and it'll look like he's had credit since 1982, even though he was 2 years old. Go figure. So that's a good way to do it. Improve your mix of credit is another one. Don't have just student loans. I see that a lot. Don't have just car payments. Make sure you have the credit cards, even though I hate to say it. Have the credit cards, the department stores, installment loans, car. Like, you have to have a good mix of credit. Definitely helps you. And then that authorized user is what I just talked about, where again, that's going to help you build good credit. I see questions here. Income-based repayment on student loans on deferment. Do you recommend avoiding the government deferment and making monthly payments? So student loans are another love-hate relationship that Joe has with credit. You got me, Linda. So right now, everybody's in forbearance, right? Because of the CARES Act, everybody's able to do forbearance. I feel as though if you can keep paying the student loans, you should pay them, right? Because you're just going to put it more towards principal. I think that's really good. If you're on income-based repayment, you hopefully have a low payment. You're not paying a huge number. But if you can pay through this, it's definitely going to help you. I don't think it's going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form, because that money, whether it's $20, $50, $100 a month, is going towards principal, where normally, geez, you see the student loan payments going way up. So that's good.
So do you mostly look at how much people are paying monthly or the total balance of the student loans? Are student loans not as harmful to your credit or to your financial portfolio when they're looking at your debt to income?
Student loans are another good one. Did you tee up that question? Was that like a pre-planned, you knew the answer? I think she knew the answer, everybody. She's like, I'm going to tee Joe up for this question. So student loans are looked at differently if you're getting an FHA loan versus a conventional loan. Two different sets of guidelines. So on a conventional loan, if you have a income-based repayment, so let's just say Taylor has $100,000 of student loans, and she's on income-based repayment, and that income-based repayment is requiring her to pay $50 a month. Then the payment that we use to qualify you on a conventional loan is $50 a month on your $100,000 of student loans. Now, we know that that's not the real payment, but that's what you're required to pay per your agreement. On an FHA loan, it's different. On an FHA loan, you're required to qualify on 1% of the balance of the loan. So conventional with the income-based repayment, $50. With the FHA, $1,000. Ooh, yeah, big difference, right? As far as what you would qualify for, if you have a $50 payment on your debt versus a $1,000 payment on your debt, it's like night and day. So a lot of times when we see a lot of student loans, we really try to qualify the person under a conventional loan versus the FHA, because the FHA, their guidelines are crazy. when it comes to the student loans. But great question. Good question, Santra. Will checking your credit score on an app lower your credit score? That answer is no. So if you check your own credit, doesn't hurt your credit score. If a lender or a car company or somebody else does a hard inquiry, that would hit your credit score. But usually if you look at your own, that's not going to adversely affect your credit score. So you're going to be okay to check that Credit Karma app all the time if you like. That's fine. Collection accounts. After 7 years, is a collection account off of your credit? Great question, Phyllis. So collection accounts, I have a collection with Sprint on my credit. It's been there since 2004. That technically, the rule is it can come off in 7 years. 7 years, it should come off. What I've seen over the years is that Sprint knows that I owe them $1,000. They can sell that collection to Von Carr Collections, and now Von Carr, guess what he starts? A new 7 years. Yeah, congrats, Von. You can come after me for 7 new years. That does happen. So, I mean, it can happen. There's a chance it could go away. There's a chance it could get sold, right? If I owe Sprint $1,000, Sprint can then sell that collection to Vaughn for $500, and Sprint's happy they got $500, and Vaughn's out to collect for me for $1,000. So they could do that. That's why I really recommend getting rid of the collections and trying to pay them off if you can. If it's a large amount, right? I've seen some from apartment complexes and things like that, and you can't do it. Then you just roll the dice and see what happens after year 7. Piggybacking off of someone. So when you're piggybacking on someone else's credit, can you ever come off? When will it drop your score? Will it drop your score when you do so? Good question. So let's just say I get on Mama Claudia's credit on her Amex. Claudia puts me on her Amex. My credit score goes up. I'm high-fiving. I'm feeling good. I go buy a new car, a new house, a new furniture. I do all of that fun stuff. If I come off of that credit card, it's going to impact my credit because I am now removing that credit history, that credit balance, that credit limit. All of that is coming away from me. So when you do come off of it, yes. You also do run a little bit of a risk, right? Let's say Mama Claudia decides she doesn't want to pay that Amex because she gets mad at Joe and she just stops paying the Amex bill. Now her late payments become my late payments. So you definitely don't want to go out there and just get on anybody's credit. You just want to make sure you're in a good spot. Let's see. I have a new collection on my credit I just found out about that's not mine. Should I pay it and ask for a termination letter or fight it? So you have something on your credit that's not yours. You could definitely dispute it is the first thing you can do. Dispute it with that company. If you dispute it and they don't remove it, depending on the size of it, I just feel it's easier to pay it and get rid of it than to have it there haunting you forever. But if it's truly not yours, you can dispute it with all 3 credit bureaus. If you just go onto the 3 credit bureaus' websites, and you can call and dispute it that way, and maybe they'll take it off. So you definitely want to reference the Fair Credit Reporting Act when you do so and say, hey, per the Fair Credit Reporting Act, this is not correct. You need to take this off of my credit. And maybe that'll give you some success with disputing it before you just pay it, you know. If most of your debt comes from student loans, but you're good everywhere else, is this a deal breaker? Student loans are not a deal breaker, no. As I mentioned, the student loans obviously affect you more when you're on an FHA loan than a conventional. But that being said, I've had clients I have doctors with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans, like obscene amounts of student loans. So it does not not allow you to finance at all. It counts as a debt, but it's not a deal breaker. Nope. Good question. Do we look at all 3 credit bureaus? Oh. Yes, Cassandra, if you need help with the credit report, reach out to me and we can help you definitely look at the credit and give you some tips. Taylor, we do look at all 3 credit bureaus. So when we do run your credit, we look at all 3 bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and we take the middle of the 3 scores. So if your top score is 850 and your bottom score is 500 and your middle score is 700, then the middle score is your qualifying score. Usually all 3 scores should be pretty close, but the middle credit score is your qualifying score. Take out the high, take out the low, we can use the middle score. Cool? You guys are good with questions. The best we've done on Zoom. I'm super happy. All right, we're going to go into down payment. Boom. So finding your down payment. Traditional sources of down payment. Savings, 401k loans, gift funds, could all be places from your down payment. So your regular savings. If you have a 401k or retirement plan, it's always good to see what the terms of withdrawal are, because you may be able to borrow against it to purchase a home. You may be able to use that and pay yourself back. Every plan is administered differently, so you definitely want to find out what you can and cannot do. You don't want to pull money out from that without finding out if there's a penalty. If there's a penalty, you want to make sure you know what it is. If there's no penalty, you want to make sure what that is. And then
Sorry, since you mentioned 401k personal loans, when you take that out, does the loan now become a part of your debt to income or debt period when you're looking at qualifying?
So if you take a loan, so I work for Disney and I borrow against my 401k, I take 50 grand out from my 401k. According to Disney, I have to pay myself back every pay period. Right. That does not count against my DTI, against my debt to income ratio. So that's just me paying myself. And basically what we look at is that's really your money. If you were to leave Disney, Disney's going to keep it. You're just going to pay a penalty. So it's not included in your debt to income ratio. Good question. Gift funds. So if you're not like Joe Soto and you have a family member who can give you a gift, because I don't have anybody. If you have a family member who can give you a gift, it's really important that you document it properly. Again, like I said earlier, cash is king, except for when you're buying a house. When you're buying a house, cash is not king. So we want to make sure that money is in the bank, that money can be seasoned, that money can be sourced, right? We know where it came from. Ultimately, the thinking of the bank is if we don't know where it came from, if every month, if you all of a sudden you have a $10,000 deposit into your bank account, unless we can source that it came from Teresa or it came from Glennis, we're going to assume it's a loan and we're going to assume that you owe money on it. So it always has to be documented, even if it's a gift. You want to make sure that you don't move money around without talking to me and figuring out like, what's the best way to do this? Because it's a fun little rabbit hole when you have to start connecting all of the dots for deposits. It's really your money, but we're going to source and season all of that.
So I have a question. I've actually been asked this. How would a person go about documenting, I guess, a gift fund? Like, let's say someone just randomly gave me $20,000 to put down on a home. Would I just need to show, like, would that person need to show their income? What would they need to do to actually show that they're able to just hand me $20,000?
Two different ways. Great question. So if the money goes into your bank account, Vaughn, we're going to want to see how it got there. Okay, that's the number one thing. If you're doing an FHA loan, even if the money goes straight to the escrow company, so you find a house, right, and let's say you have an uncle. Your uncle wants to give you $20,000. On an FHA loan, if your uncle's giving you $20,000, we're going to want to see your uncle's bank statement to show that he had the $20,000, where that money came from. Okay? On a conventional loan, a little bit different, a little bit of a loophole. Is that the right word? I'm trying to be cautious with my wording right now. So on a conventional loan, Uncle Vaughn can send the money directly to the escrow company. So it can go from your uncle's bank account, Vaughn, could go from his bank account to the escrow company, and we won't paper trail it. We won't ask for your uncle's bank statement to show where that money came from. That's only on a conventional loan. FHA and jumbo loans, you're going to want to see the bank statement from the donor. And that gets kind of tricky, right? You get money from your mom or your grandma, and they gave you the money to buy your house on an FHA loan. And then you go, Grandma, I need your bank statement to show you really had the money. Aside from the Credit Karma thing, the next thing I get the most is, can you call my grandma and explain to her why you need her bank statement? All the time. Because at the end of the day, we have to make sure it's not a loan. So again, rule of thumb, conventional, it can't go to Vaughn. It would have to go from gifter, their bank account, to the escrow company. We're not going to want to see it. Close our eyes. If it's FHA, we're going to want to see where it came from. Even if you send it directly to escrow on an FHA, we're going to want to see the donor's bank statement, the donorability. Same thing with VA. We're going to want to see the donorability of that person. The government-backed loans do require that. So you do want to make sure that you, again, on an FHA loan, you let the gifter know, hey, we're going to need to show proof of it. If you didn't want to show proof of it, option 3 is that, Vaughn, you get the money, you put it in your own bank account, and you let it sit there for 2 months. Because if it's there for 2 months, Bank of Joe isn't going to ask you where the money came from. It's been in your account. As far as I can see, you've always had $20,000 in your bank account. Doesn't look like a gift to me, because from a lending standpoint, we look at your last 2 months.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And then we're going to talk a little bit about down payment assistance programs. So we'll touch on that. Real quick.
In the chat. It relates to what we just spoke about.
Is it okay that I cash my own check and keep the cash for the down payment? Well, the bank needs to see that I cashed the check. You would have to show every statement that shows that you cashed it. Very tricky to show, Mr. or Mrs. Scott. It would be really, really difficult to show it, to show that that's what you've done, because we don't know. You get a cash a check for $5,000, but we don't know how much of that $5,000 you spent on bills versus you put into savings for the house. So in all likelihood, probably not. You probably have to get that money into the bank. Very hard to prove that every check you cashed was solely for down payment. That's a tough one. Good question, though. Really good question. We'll go over closing costs real quick. So when you buy a house, you have your down payment, which is what you're required to put down, and then you have closing costs. So what goes into closing costs? Lender fees, appraisal, title, escrow, recording. Now, there's only 5 things on that list, but if you've ever bought a house, you know that that list is super long. It's like 1,000 little line items, right? I just did that to keep it simple. The best way, the little rule of thumb on that is 1.5% to 2% of your sales price is going to be needed for closing costs. So on a $400,000 home, closing costs would be about $8,000, right? That's the rule of thumb. $7,000 to $8,000 is probably where you're looking at. In addition to closing, you're going to have prepaids. So congratulations, you're buying a house. Today's closing day. Yes, you agree to put $20,000 as a down payment. At the time of closing, you're also going to start paying property taxes and homeowners insurance. So property taxes and homeowners insurance are going to be prepaid at the time of closing. Again, that's going to be part of this 2%. Oops. That's going to be part of this 2% that we give you all in. So cash to close, you would need the regular down payment plus about 2%. Now, I know this portion, right, Teresa? This portion can be negotiated. So on closing costs, if your closing costs, let's say on that same $400,000 house are $8,000, you can negotiate when you're buying your house to have the seller pay your closing costs. And I know that everybody does a good job on trying to get the seller to cover closing costs or give you something. We've had a lot of success even in this market in getting some of that. So again, those are required to be paid. You have to pay your own down payment, but closing costs can be negotiated in the sale as long as you're working with the right agent who's going to fight for you, who's going to make it happen, who's going to put it into the offer and help you lower your overall cash out of pocket. So
yes, some of the closing costs, not all of it, but some of it. And usually with that, they will need to go up in price a little bit because just as Tay said and Glenn said, it's a seller's market. So you go up a little bit and then we ask for the closing costs. But good point, Joe.
very good. All right, so then let's just talk about what a mortgage payment looks like, because I get this question a lot. So what goes into the mortgage payment? Well, the biggest portion of it is the property taxes, the principal and interest, right? So this is just an example of a $100,000 payment. I know nobody around here has a $1,000 monthly payment on a mortgage, but I just did this to keep it super simple. $750 of that would go towards principal and interest. That's the mortgage payment. In addition to that, you'd have about $100 in property taxes, $50 in homeowners insurance, $100 in mortgage insurance. So there's different pieces to the puzzle, right? If you're putting more than 20% down, maybe you don't have to pay mortgage insurance. Maybe that's a little bit less. If you're buying a condo, maybe the insurance is a little bit less than $50 a month. Or if you live in a flood zone, maybe the insurance is higher than $50 in a month. That's the basic breakdown as far as what you're looking at. Property taxes, I think Glenn has touched on special assessments and some of that stuff. Those can be higher or lower depending on where you're buying. But that's just the basics, right? Principal and interest, property taxes, insurance, PMI. That's everything that goes into a mortgage payment. All right, so first we'll touch on different types of loans. Look at my fancy PowerPoint. It opens up as I go through. FHA loan stands for the Federal Housing Administration. You can buy with as little as 3.5% down. They do allow you to finance with the 580 minimum FICO score. It has to be your primary residence. Can't buy an investment property. And FHA loans typically have more flexible guidelines. They allow a lower FICO score, higher debt ratio. They're guaranteed by the federal government. So they're not risk-based loans. Conventional loans, on the other hand, should have been conventional loans in there. Conventional loans are risk-based loans. Lower FICO, higher risk. Lower down payment, higher risk. Minimum FICO, you can see, goes up on a conventional loan. You need to have at least a 620 credit score. Conventional loans can allow you to do 3% down in some areas. Most areas it's 5% down, but there are options for that as well. So that's the main difference between FHA and conventional. Don't know if anybody, I saw one question about VA. Anybody else on here eligible for a VA? If you are, send us a little message. But the VA loan is literally the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind. If you know anybody who's in the service, who has served, who is a widow or surviving spouse, and they are not currently owning a home, or maybe they do currently own a home, it's a great time to utilize that VA benefit to get into something bigger. Zero down, so you're not going to have to put any money down, literally zero down payment, great interest rates, low down, no mortgage insurance. So it's super duper awesome program. You can come out of pocket with probably less money than it would cost you to rent an apartment, right? It might cost you first and last month's rent to rent an apartment. Literally, in this area, that's probably more than what you would need to close on a purchase with a VA loan. So again, I thank anybody out there who has served, any family members, anybody like that. But if you do know someone, they definitely should own a home or look at upgrading their current home. It's a really, really good program. And then the last thing is jumbo loans. So jumbo loans, I'm going to grab this because it's going to ring in my house. Sorry. Apparently that was PETA calling me to keep the animals alive. Sorry. That's a true story, by the way. It literally says PETA. Great. Jumbo loans are basically jumbo. Think of jumbo as big. Anything over $765,000 is considered a jumbo loan. Jumbo really should mean more complex to get, and we're going to ask you for a lot more stuff, is basically what the jumbo means. So you can get a loan for up to $1.5 million with 10% down on a jumbo loan, but they are just definitely more stringent. They're looked at more closely. They're not your normal loans. I mean, I have clients who get jumbo loans who are putting a lot of money down and have a lot of assets, and it's still complex because you just have more stuff, right? And we ask for more stuff. You borrow more money, we're going to ask for more stuff. You borrow less money, we're still going to ask for a lot of stuff, but less stuff. All right, we'll touch on the pros and cons of conventional loans. Again, pros, you can put as little as 3% down. There's different options for mortgage insurance. On a conventional loan, you can remove PMI. So PMI is private mortgage insurance. That's required anytime you have put less than 20% down on a property. So PMI can be removed once you have that equity in the home. On an FHA loan, that's not the case. Conventional loans can have lower mortgage insurance rates compared to FHA. So again, the way mortgage insurance works is the higher your FICO, the lower the private mortgage insurance. The lower the FICO, the higher the private mortgage insurance. So as your credit score is a little bit lower, you may not want to look at a conventional loan, maybe more beneficial for the FHA, because the conventional loan is going to have a higher rate and a higher PMI than if you had a higher credit score. Conventional loans go to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae, and you could also use gifts to purchase. The challenge with the FHA loans is that they are risk-based, like I mentioned. They have a little bit more restrictive guidelines, and the PMI is based on those factors as far as the credit score. So again, strictly risk-based pricing on that stuff. And if you have questions on any of these FHAs or conventional, just fire away. I'll go through them, but I know there's always stuff that you've heard, and a friend told me never to do conventional, or my dad told me never to do FHA, or PMI is really bad. Just fire it away if you got it. FHA loans, again, Federal Housing Administration, low down payment, 3.5% down. And again, conventional offers 3% down, but it's only in certain areas. On a conventional loan, to do 3% down, you have to meet a certain requirement. Most conventional loans are 5% down in most areas. So that's a 1.5%, 1.5% difference between the FHA and the conventional. Risk-based pricing, less down, or FHA are not risk-based. So you could put 3.5% down, you're going to get a great rate, right? It's not going to affect you because of your less down payment, lower down payment. FHA has flexible guidelines. They'll allow to a 55% debt to income ratio. So just to give you round numbers, because I'm a round numbers kind of guy, if your household income is $10,000 a month combined, on an FHA loan, 55 DTI means, assuming you have no debt, but a 55 DTI means on $10,000 of income, you would qualify for a $5,500 mortgage payment. right? $5,500. On a conventional, the max allowed is $50,000. You may only qualify for a $5,000 mortgage payment. Again, assuming no debt, but you can see the difference, right? $5,500 versus $5,000. You'd qualify for a little bit more with that FHA option. The cons of the FHA are the higher PMI if you have a higher FICO score. You also have private mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. So on an FHA loan, you have that PMI for the life of the loan. It doesn't just come off once you have 20% equity. You would actually have to refinance that loan in order to get rid of the PMI. FHA also has upfront mortgage insurance. So FHA is super sweet. They have no risk. They give you great rates. They have flexible guidelines, but they do collect an upfront fee, which is included in your loan amount to cover the FHA kitty, right? So it's a 1.75% fee that's financed into your loan. You don't pay it out of pocket, but it's called an upfront mortgage insurance premium, upfront mortgage insurance. And then the last con on FHA, which is really the big one, is condos. When you're looking at condominiums and you're approved on an FHA, a condominium project has to be approved by the FHA. So if you're if you're looking at homes or condos, I don't know what the number is. Maybe Teresa or one of you guys can help me out. But if we're looking at, I don't know, let's say 100 condos. Out of 100 condos, what do we think? 20 of them are FHA approved? 5. Somebody muted me.
My mom.
See, hey,
I
Teresa.
was trying to unmute myself.
So on, let's say 10, on 10 communities, what do we think? 1 or 2 might be FHA approved?
Exactly.
Something like that. So definitely, I met with the client last week and she's like, I feel like I'm pigeonholed. Like I see all these places, I can't make offers because they're not FHA approved. Not our fault, not M M Team's fault. It's the community hasn't done the paperwork with the Federal Housing Administration. So that's why a lot of times if you're looking at condos, you're probably better off getting a conventional approval. They're less restrictive on that as well.
Joe, can you put more down if you're using an FHA loan, or does the percentage that you put down kind of determine what type of loan you receive?
You can put more down on an FHA loan. So you can put 5, 10, 15, 20% down. But, and I have a client right now who's doing more than 20% down, but he can't qualify for a conventional loan. The challenge with that is even though he's putting more than 20% down, guess what? He still has PMI. So FHA is going to require that PMI no matter what. Go ahead.
Sorry, you heard me. I'm like, okay, so if he puts more, 20% down, how long does he have to wait before he can refinance to then get that PMI off?
He'd have to wait 6 months. I think it would be, I think the only reason you would do that is because you can't, like my other client can't qualify for a conventional, right? His credit's too low. He's got too many negative items on his credit. So it's just a matter of building up his credit to the point where he can get a conventional approval. I say 6 months is probably a good waiting period because you're gonna have to build up the credit in that time. DPAs. So DPA stands for Down Payment Assistance. Sorry, I'm going to ask again. Anybody with questions on conventional versus FHA or VA? Speak now.
Question.
Yes.
Because we're in such a seller's market and everybody's overbidding, can the buyer pay more than the house appraised for on various loans? Conventional, VA, FHA.
Can the buyer pay?
And the difference.
The difference. So you get an offer.
Yes.
Yeah. The house appraises at $575, but you have a contract for $600.
Yes.
So buyer can come up with that difference anytime and make up whatever that is. And we're seeing that right in this market because it is a seller's market. But yeah, there's no restrictions on that with FHA, VA, or conventional. They can make up that difference anytime. Good question. All right, keep going. So let's talk about down payment assistance programs. So for most people, the challenge, most people can afford the monthly payment, right? Monthly payment is doable, where you're like, I can afford $2, $3, $4 grand a month because we have good income. But the challenge sometimes wind up being the credit or the down payment. So there are down payment assistance programs that will help you with the down payment. So the pros are little or no upfront cost, right? If you use a down payment assistance program, you might have to come in with maybe 1% of your purchase price. So on a $400,000 house, maybe that's about $4 grand. You can get a second loan onto the house. So it can be up to 4% of a second mortgage. So I think there was a question earlier about the teacher benefit. One of the things that you can do here, if you are a teacher or an education professional, is the normal down payment assistance gives you 3.5%, but as a teacher, you get up to 4%. So it gives you a little bit more down payment help to where, like I said before, maybe you're coming, instead of coming in with 1% of the down, maybe you're only coming in with 0.5% of the down. And that's only for anybody who works in education. So I think that was a question earlier. I hope that they're still on and they got that. The down payment assistance can be applied to down payment and closing costs. It allows you to get in the game faster, right? Because values are going up. And by the time you save money for that down payment, you're chasing the appreciation. So again, the down payment assistance program allows you to get into the game a little bit faster. And there are conventional and FHA options available, so you can do both. The conventional option typically may require you to come in with a little bit more money, but again, a lot less than putting 5% down and covering closing costs, way less. The cons on the down payment assistance program, it's like anything else, right? The government, the state of California is going to give with one hand and they're going to take with the other, right? So the interest rate is going to be a little bit higher. The guidelines are going to be a little bit more restrictive. Guidelines are going to be restrictive, where earlier I showed you 620 and 580 credit scores. On these programs, you're going to need at least a 640. There's income restrictions, which I don't even know why they call them income restrictions, because they're super high in Orange and LA counties. If you go into Riverside and San Bernardino, they're a little bit lower, but they're still really, really good. There's limits on how much property value you can do. So you can't do a down payment assistance program and buy $1 million home. So there's a little bit of limits on that. You're going to qualify for a little bit less in purchase price versus coming in with your own down payment. So earlier I gave you the example of the debt to income. Same thing on a purchase, right? You may qualify for $500,000 on a regular FHA loan. You may only qualify for $450,000 on an FHA loan with the down payment assistance. It equates to about 50 grand when you're using that program. So again, a little bit more restrictive in how much you can qualify, but you're in the game faster. You're not sitting on the sidelines trying to save another $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Longer closing timelines. So you're typically looking at least 30 to 45 days on closing one of these programs. And sometimes you may still need help with closing costs, right? You still may need the seller to give you assistance with closing costs to make up that difference as far as what's required out of pocket. So the best program that's available right now is the Cal HFA. So it's basically the #1 program that's available in the state of California. It's for first-time home buyers. So who's considered a first-time home buyer is somebody who hasn't owned a home in 3 years. If you owned a home 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago, perfect. You're now a first-time home buyer. It can't be on your credit. You can't, even if you co-signed for somebody, can't have anything on your credit for the last 3 years. and you can't have anything on your taxes for the last 3 years. Must be your primary residence. You have to take a home education course. This one says 660, and I don't know why that changed, but it should say 640. The debt to income rate, no, it should say 660. Sorry, this one is wrong. Because when COVID hit, this changed a little bit. Requires now a 43 debt ratio and the income limits, which we can go by. You can see that my school, my teacher program is right there. You're basically combining the loans. We're going to show you how it works. You cannot use a cosigner. So if you're using one of these programs, you can't say, hey, mom or dad or sister, brother, sign with me. You're not going to be able to do that on that program. I think I have examples on how it works, so we'll get to that slide as well. Here's the maximum loan limits and the maximum income. So in Orange County, you're eligible for this program if as a household you make less than $193,000. That's a lot of income. LA County is 144, Riverside is 138, San Diego is 170. And you can see under that I put the maximum loan limit for FHA because those limits change from county to county. Conventional does not. So that's the limits on that. You can see they're really high, right? It's not like a low income number. Scott, Mr. Scott, I will check on Ventura County. I was not prepared, but I will get that for you and I can shoot it over to you via email. Good question. So here's how the My Home, the CalHFA works. Basically, what we do is we take your first loan, which is a regular FHA or conventional loan. Then you would have a second loan, right? So 1, 2. Second loan, the payments are deferred. That's for 3.5% of the sales price. If it's a conventional loan, it's 3%. Third loan is a zip. So you'd actually on this program have 3 loans on the property that are signed onto the home. If you sell the home, you have to pay back all 3 loans. That's one of the catches essentially, but you definitely have the opportunity to have all 3 financing. And so here's a quick example on how the CalHFA works. So on a $450 purchase price, you're looking at approximately a $3,000 a month monthly payment. If you're putting 3.5% down, that would be $15,750. You're looking at closing costs. That shows $16,875. Now, if you remember from earlier, I said the closing costs were a little bit lower. I said 2%. On these programs, the closing costs are a little bit higher. So you have a $32,000 total costs, right? That's down payment plus closing costs. Now we're going to show you what the down payment assistance does. You're going to get the My Home, which is the second mortgage. You're going to get the ZIP, which is a 0 interest program. There's no interest on that, $13,000. The remaining cost paid by the buyer is about $3,800. So $3,847 is what you would be required to pay at closing. A lot less than paying 3.5 down plus closing costs. So you'd be out of pocket $3,800. And that you could get credited by the seller if you were able to. The rule of thumb on an FHA loan is basically every 100K is about $700 a month. It might be a little bit lower than that, but that's about the rule of thumb. So if you're borrowing $200,000, you're looking at about $1,400 a month. If you're borrowing $300,000, you're looking at $2,100 a month. If you're borrowing $400,000, you're looking at $2,800 a month. So that kind of gives you an idea of where the payments are. Obviously, that's just on an FHA because that factors in PMI and all of that stuff on this down payment assistance program. Any questions on this? Because this is a lot with first loan, second loan, third loan. What can I do? What's available? All of that fun stuff.
There's a few questions in the chat.
Oh, I see. with an FHA loan, can you buy foreclosure homes? Yes, you can buy any type of property as long as it can be appraised. So on an FHA, you could buy a foreclosed property as long as there's no health and safety issues. So you're still going to have to get an appraisal done on the house, as long as it's not one of those flip or flop, total rehabs, you're fine. Can you be assisted with down payment assistance and have your own down payment as well? Yes, you can. You can use a DPA and have a down payment. However, a lot of times it doesn't make sense because the costs are higher and the rate is higher on a down payment assistance program. So if you have the money for the down payment and the closing costs, you're better off doing that than adding in the down payment assistance, unless you just want the additional funds, because that down payment assistance, still going to get repaid. So good question. I like this, that it tracks the questions, because now we're up to 17. I feel like we've done really good. And that doesn't count the ones that Taylor couldn't threw in there. So we're busting it out. Taylor, any questions on Cal Haffa? Come on, Taylor.
Nope, I'm good. I'm sure they'll come to me. I'm trying to think of everybody else's questions I've heard. And I'm like, you got to call Joe. I don't know.
No. So another question that we get all the time is determining your buying power, right? Like, how do I figure it out? Like, is there a special formula? Everybody's situation is so different, right? Because we look at your income, we look at your debts. If you've co-signed for other people, that shows up on your credit. If you own other property, that shows up on your credit. We don't look, when we're qualifying you, we don't look at your water bill, your cable, your cell phone, right? Any of that stuff. It's really just the stuff that's on your credit, revolving debt, student loans, car payments, installment loans, anything that reports to your bureaus. So if you're trying to calculate your own debt to income ratio, you take your existing monthly payments plus your new house payment divided by your income. So again, the simplest math is if you have a $2,500 mortgage payment and you have $500 car payment, that gives you $3,000 in debt. And you make $10,000 a month, $3,000 by $10,000, it's going to put you at 30%, or the other way around. $10,000 by $3,000 is going to put you at 30%. The rule of thumb on a conventional loan, again, is 50%. On an FHA loan is 55%. On a VA loan, which I didn't touch on, goes as high as like 59%. VA is a little bit more flexible. So again, here's our little example. Assuming that Joe borrower has a $5,000 mortgage payment, a $3,000 mortgage payment, he has $200 in student loans, he has a $500 car payment, he's got a $3,700 a month obligation, all of his bills. If his income is $8,000 a month, then you divide $8,000 by 3,700, tells me that the debt to income ratio is 46%. The other easy way to figure that out, or to try to figure out what you qualify for, is to take your gross income, right? So if you make, again, just using round numbers, $10,000 a month, and you have, let's say, 2 car payments at $500 apiece. So you take your $10,000 a month in gross income, gross, not net. You subtract the 2 car payments, $500 and $500, takes you to $9,000 of gross income. And again, the rule of thumb on conventional is 50%. So if you were taking 50%, that tells me that the max mortgage you would qualify for would be about $4,500, right? 9,000 divided by 2, 4,500. If you have $4,000 a month of income and you have no debt, basically $4,000 a month of income, divide that by 2, takes me at about $2,000 a month is what you would qualify for on a new mortgage. So take your gross income, subtract your debt, divide it by 2 is the easiest possible Soto math that I can give you, so that you can get an idea of kind of where you're at if you wanted to play with those numbers. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to help you run the numbers, figure it out, come up with a game plan. Like, that's what we do.
Just call Joe Soto.
We'll help you come up with the plan. What is a pre-approval? So pre-approval means you've gone through the whole process, right? There's a pre-qualification, which means it's just based on your credit and your word. You tell me you make $100,000 a month, I'm going to go, cool, perfect. You tell me you make 50 grand a month, cool. A pre-qualification is just that. Verbal, we run your credit, you're pre-qualified. A pre-approval means that we've taken your application, we've run your credit, we reviewed your income, we've talked about loan programs, we've run it through an automated underwriting system. It identifies and confirms your purchase price, your loan amount, interest rate, loan to value, gives you what you can do, gives you the combination of payment and down payment. You're going to need a pre-approval in order to make an offer on a property, especially right now with how crazy the market is, because the pre-approval validates your ability to qualify. It shows the seller that you are motivated. It also allows you to be fast, right? You've already done all the paperwork. The worst thing that could happen is when somebody calls and they tell Glennis or Taylor, I found the perfect house. I want to go see it today. And then Glennis tells them, well, did you call Joe? And they go, no. And they're like, all right. Because by the time you call Joe and get your pre-approval, there's 10 other people who are already pre-approved who have already put in offers on that house. And you're late to the game. So in this market, in this day and age, you need to have all of that stuff lined up so that you don't miss out. And you're ready, because speed kills. Quick closings, short contingencies, per diems, rent back. You want to be ready to strike when that house hits the market, because at the end of the day, the seller wants to know that they're going to sell their home, right? They want to know that you're prepared to buy it.
Actually, Joe, some sellers are requiring that you have your pre-approval to even come see the home, especially right now, given everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. So you definitely want to have it before you start going house hunting.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot, and in all states. I mean, I do loans throughout the country, and I had a good buddy of mine call me in New Jersey, like a good friend, and I've helped him buy 4 houses now, and he's like, I got to go see a house, but they're telling me I need a letter. And I was like, yeah, you need a letter. He's like, what do you mean I need a letter? I just want to go see a house. I'm like, yeah, they're not going to let you into that house unless you have a letter. He's like, well, do you know a guy who can get me a letter? I go, yes, I can help you out. And I know he's very well qualified, but that's the market, right? Like, you have to go through the steps, because the seller's not going to accept your offer unless you're ready to go. That's just the way it is. Any questions on pre-approvals? We did good on that. So the last thing, we'll take more questions. I always like to make an offer, because I figure it's awesome that you took some time to be with us. So one of the things that I will put in the chat probably is I'll put a link to my website and my loan application. So one of the things that we do is, if we do pre-approve you from this class, when you do find a house, we'll credit you the $500 that you would pay for a home appraisal. So you're required to get an appraisal. Everybody needs one. So for showing up today and doing the application today, or at least this week, I'm pretty flexible. We'll go ahead and make a note on your file so we can do that. I think we did that with one client last time. Why can't I remember her name? Teresa, can you help me? Why can't I remember her name? Oh my gosh. She was like the cutest. Anyway, that was what?
Kalita.
Huh?
Kalita.
That's right. Kalita. So I'll put that in the chat. And if you want to go on my website and start the application process and get rolling into purchasing a new home, we would love the opportunity to guide you through the process. And doesn't matter whether you're thinking about buying in a day, a month, a week, a year. I've had clients go, start the pre-approval process and not buy for 3 or 4 years. Like, everybody's process is different. And if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? So I think the most important thing is taking some time like this to get educated and just taking those steps. Whatever step it may be, as long as it's step forward, you're making progress. So, That's all I got. Lots of loan stuff. I hope I didn't bore you guys to pieces. But yeah, it's lots of moving pieces.
There's a
You
couple.
are amazing, Joe.
Other questions in the chat, and I see a good one in there.
Oh, Crystal, how long does a pre-approval last? Super great question. So a pre-approval usually lasts 120 days. It's going to last 4 months. I'm pretty cool, right? Like a lot of lenders will 120 days, they'll say, well, let's redo your whole life. I'm going to rerun your credit. If your credit was good, I won't ding you again. If your credit is in the middle, we're going to run it again. But at that point, we would need just updated pay stubs and probably bank statements, and that's about it. Usually, if you're working with somebody on the M M team, that won't happen, and you'll be in a house in under 120 days, so we don't have to worry about it. Shameless plug. You like that?
Love it, love it, love it.
Um,
Did we get all the questions?
yes. Cassandra, I will reach out to you, and then we'll start the application. Oh, I should put that in my chat. Did I unshare my screen? I did, right?
You can
Yeah.
share it again.
No, I'm good. I'm going to see if I...
This was so informative. Joe, you are the man.
No, I learned a lot on this. This is good.
Every time I sit through and listen to your conversation, I always pick up bits and nuggets and things that I, didn't know. It's like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's awesome. We can share that. So for everybody that's still here as our attendees, prior to the meeting, I emailed you our registration form. That is a form that we would normally do at this time. You fill it out, we look at it, and we do a little closing gift or a little, what do you call those things? Door prize, whatever it is. I will still do that for you. I have a little something, something for y'all, just for me, on behalf of the team. But you must email your registration back. I actually have one back from T. Scott. So T. Scott, so far, there are no competition at this moment but you. We will.
Good odds.
So she got real good odds. We'll send the PowerPoint presentations from our M team. You will have the opportunity to have a conversation with Joe. He is not sending you his PowerPoint because he wants to talk to you in person. That's how that's going to work. If you did not get the home buyer's guide, I will email that with a survey. How did we do? Did you like us? Were we informative? Did you enjoy us? We're looking forward to working with you. With that being said, do you guys have anything else, team? Nothing. Can we just give it up for the amazing M team? Man, I was
Great job, everybody.
like the proud mama looking at my children. They handled the business. They came, they brought it, they represented. So when you work with us, you work with the best. Thank you for taking time. We did go a little over. It was really important to find out about the money. So with that being said, I am going to end the Facebook Live right now. Facebook Live, if you have any questions, just reach out to us. Thank you for being with us and look for those emails.